What's up guys, today I'm going to talk about my experience of using Xperia 1 Mark II for about 8 months. It was all good so far. I'm going to talk about advantages and disadvantages and what I've noticed so far. Meanwhile, this is my new channel. I'm trying to record videos in English because my main Russian channel is like Russian. And I'm trying, I dropped my Xperia. Well done. Yeah, so I'm hoping for you to be very active, comment, watch the videos, and maybe then I will be releasing English versions more often than I usually do, like once a year. Also, I did manage to check out Xperia 1 Mark III in real life, and it's amazing, obviously, and you can check out that video in the description. Go check it out, there is a lot of interesting info in there. And meanwhile, we're going to talk about Xperia 1 Mark II experience, and also we're going to talk in this video about Xperia 1 Mark III and my experience with it, well, for the time I did have it. Anyway, let's go ahead. Design of Xperia 1 Mark III is one of my most favorite. It's very simple, it looks very expensive, very strict, you know, and it also doesn't have any punch holes and all this shit going on in front of the screen. We have a lot of different buttons on here, like a camera button, which is very useful, fingerprint scanner on the side. I think it's one of the most comfortable positions for this thing, and it's glossy, which means it doesn't always work perfectly, but in Xperia 1 Mark III they changed it and now it's matte. There is a headphone jack, which is awesome in 2021. There is a volume button and also a slot for SIM card and SD card slot, which is awesome as well. So in terms of design, I'm really happy with this thing. It's awesome, it's comfortable, it's really narrow, which means it's comfortable to hold in your hand, and it's sick, it's just sick, it rocks, babe. There is only one downside to this design. When you're using speakers, you're getting a lot of vibration on the backside. Someone might not like this feeling, but I'm pretty okay with this. But in Xperia 1 Mark III, they did fix it. Alright, let's talk about the screen, and it's freaking awesome. I'm loving this thing. It's 4K, 60 Hz, it's 21:9 aspect ratio, and it has OLED panel and all that amazing stuff going on. But you know, I did use Xperia 5 Mark II for about a month, and I did love 120 Hz because it's awesome. 120 Hz is really awesome, but I couldn't stand the low resolution of Full HD+. I mean, when you watch YouTube videos in Full HD, it's a nightmare. You see a lot of pixels going on, and the interface is also, you can see some like steps going around the app. I did have to sell Xperia 5 Mark II and get back to Xperia 1 Mark II because I loved 4K screens so much. But now in Xperia 1 Mark III we are getting the best of both worlds. We're getting 120 Hz and we're also getting 4K display, and it's awesome. I tried it, it's like perfect. You don't get like in a downscale in resolution when you're using 120 Hz, and it's really awesome. Someone might say, why the heck would you need 4K on a screen, such a small screen, but actually it looks amazing. And also some people saying there is no 4K content. Guys, you're still living in 2012 or what? Like 70% of YouTube videos I watch are usually in 4K resolution. It means if you're probably not watching someone who's using 4K camera or something. But meanwhile, I'm enjoying this. At least it works in album, for example, when you're viewing your photos and other stuff. So there is a really positive thing going on about 4K resolution, and personally I can notice the difference even between 2K and 4K resolution even on such a small display. Another advantage is 21:9 aspect ratio. You might think that it's too tall or not comfortable, but actually after a day of usage you will definitely notice how good it is, especially when you're scrolling Instagram or other social networks. So when you're typing a message to someone, the keyboard doesn't cover like most of your messages on the top, and also you can play YouTube video on the top and you can still see all your messages and still open the keyboard above and you see other messages. It's awesome, it's comfortable. You can view movies in 21:9, which is awesome, like on a train or in a plane or somewhere. The only downside really is when you're watching 16:9 content. You do get big bezels on top and bottom. There's nothing to do with it. You can actually zoom in on YouTube if you find with that, but you get used to this after a week. You actually do get used to this. And right now I'm finally watching with this big black bars on top and bottom. So it's okay. The another downside is that the screen is not the brightest out there, so maybe in the sunny weather you might be having a bad time using it, but in Xperia 1 Mark III it did increase by 15%, so I guess that will really help. The main key are the cameras, and you can still live back in 2018 or maybe 15 when Sony cameras were bad in the smartphones, but we are here in 2021 and you should wake the fuck up, samurai, because this camera is great. I did compare this camera to Note 20 Ultra, and this camera was actually better in most situations. Look at these pictures, like the blanket in real life is bright red color, and on the Samsung it's like pink and washed out, and there is also more noise on the Samsung and other stuff going on. So I mean, these cameras are like on par with our competition, so there's no reason anymore to say that Sony is like the worst cameras in a smartphone. Wake up! Well, as long as you want, you can wank over 180 megapixel sensor and maybe 200 megapixel sensor when it comes out. The truth is that when you take pictures on them, they get downscaled to 12 megapixel. And here we have 12 megapixel sensor, which have big pixel sizes, like 1.8 microns or something. So it means you are getting less banding, less other artifacts, and especially using IMX 557 sensor, which is custom for this smartphone. So this sensor has 3 times better readout speeds than the 108 megapixel. As I said before, less banding, better autofocus, and also better low light when you're trying to shoot. I mean, it all comes to algorithms as well as AI, all this shit going on, but I mean, it's still great. Main camera in the smartphone can do what no other smartphone can do. It can shoot 20 photos a second, it can track eyes of animals and people, and it's cool. It can even track eyes when you're shooting 20 photos a second. It's amazing. There is a Photo Pro app which allows you to do all the custom settings and do anything, play with ISO and shutter speed and everything else. But it also has auto mode. I mean, everyone is saying, oh, Photo Pro is only custom for someone who knows how to do all the settings. Bullshit! You just press the auto button and you just take a picture and that's it. You get great results in auto mode in the Photo Pro app. If it's called Pro, it doesn't mean it doesn't have auto mode. So it's really awesome. I've been taking photos mostly like 90% of time in auto mode in the Photo Pro app, and I'm really happy with the results. There are also other 2 cameras, wide camera 16mm, which is actually quite good, and also 70mm camera, which is okay-ish. I mean, in sunny weather you might get good results, but when it's not sunny it might be good or it might be shit in some situations, so look for that. But there are definitely improvements in terms of zoom camera in Xperia 1 Mark III. When it comes to shooting videos on this smartphone, it's all good and bad at the same time. For example, you can shoot in Cinema Pro, the professional app where you do have to set the settings yourself if you know them. You can shoot 4K 120Hz. Amazing, right? First smartphone to shoot 4K 120 and 60 and everything else in 10-bit, which is even more awesome. But when we open standard camera up, 4K 30 FPS and like... What? I mean, it's really weird. You did add 4K 120 with update into the Cinema Pro, but you can't get like 4K 60 at least into the standard camera app, which we use the most time. Even me, a filmmaker, I'm not using Cinema Pro app like all the time. I mean, I'm shooting it and using it more often than anyone else, but still, why it's not here? It's 2021, it's such an easy fix. Just release the bloody update. What the hell, mate? That was a little bit of Russian English slang, mate. Even though the videos at 4K look pretty nice and the stabilization is okay-ish at 4K, I mean, there are also some other downsides. For example, front camera, it's shit, mate. I mean, it's really shit. You can't do anything about it. Whatever you do, it's like, it has a lot of noise, blurry image, bad stabilization, everything. It's just bad. Even in the sunny weather, there's a lot of overblown highlights and everything. But overall, the camera system in the smartphone is amazing. You can even shoot a RAW plus JPEG at the same time using Photo Pro app if you're into that stuff. and I'm really happy with the camera and the results it makes. I mean, there are a lot of things which they did fix in Mark III, but we're going to talk about it later. What's good in all the ways is the sound this phone is producing, either through speakers or the headphone jack or Bluetooth. It's good. Well, personally I think this smartphone is best for people who like listening to music all the time in different ways. You get front-facing speakers, which are actually sounding good, not the best out there, and you do get this vibration, which feels like you're having a subwoofer on the phone. Kind of feels cool at the same time, but the headphone jack sounds good, and I think that Sony does have the best wireless sound on the market, because you can have LDAC codec in other smartphones, yes, we know this, but it's not enough just to have a LDAC codec for sound to be good. And comparing different smartphones all the time, I think the sound through Sony wireless Bluetooth is just the best, you can't compare it. You just listen to this and you'll understand. Well, the battery life on here is okay and pretty good actually. Using 4K screen, it lasts for a day for sure. I didn't ever run into problem that my phone just ran out of battery, and the charging is actually 21 watts, which is enough for everyday use actually. We do get 30 watts in the Xperia 1 Mark III, but here it's actually enough. Wireless charging, all that stuff. Talking about the performance of this smartphone, it works good. I didn't notice any overheating. Well, I'm not the person who's playing like games for 30 minutes in a row. Well, I was shooting 4K videos, it was good. Didn't notice any overheating as well. So, I mean, it depends on the unit, probably, I don't know. Meanwhile, I did have problems with cellular. For example, when you walk into some place where you don't get 4G and it turns into 3G, when you walk out of that place, smartphone is not really going to change back to 4G, at least it wants to. You can wait for 2 minutes, you can wait for 5 minutes until it switches back to 4G, and it's really annoying sometimes. I mean, I hope they fixed it, the Mark III. So these are my short overall thoughts on Xperia 1 Mark II I've been using for 8 months. It's a great smartphone. If you buy it now, you'll be more than happy. If you have money, buy Mark III. Obviously, but I'm happy with this. You're not going to get bad results with this smartphone in either way. So go ahead, buy it if you've been thinking about this 8 months past, and I'm all good, loving it. And now to Xperia 1 Mark III, and here it is. I'm kidding, it's Mark II anyway. I was impressed by the design. Now it's all matte glass, matte sides, feeling nice, not getting any fingerprints, and also the camera button, it got this rubbery feel to it. It has a matte fingerprint scanner, which is going to work even better, and also it has all other things, like we did the headphone jack and all the other stuff. Talking about the display, as I was told, it got 15% brighter. I did notice a little difference, but not as much. And also we're getting 4K 120. God, it's amazing. I did check it out. It does actually work at 4K 120 Hz, and it's not some marketing bullshit. Probably it just works. It's not dropping the resolution, and I'm really happy about this part. And yes, probably UI does render in 2K resolution or something, but we're still getting all these images in your album, YouTube and other sources in 4K. You're not getting 4K anywhere else except this smartphone. So I'm really happy about the 120 Hz and 4K resolution at the same time. It's just like perfect. We also got a lot of usual upgrades like Snapdragon 888 and also 12 GB of RAM instead of 8, which is also nice. We also SIM card slot and also SD cards, and also boosting the battery up to 4500 mAh battery instead of 4000, and it's also nice. Main camera is still 12 megapixel IMX 557, and it's good, it's still nice. So it means we can still get all these features, fast tracking, autofocus and all the other stuff. But the improvement here is basically the zoom camera. It got a larger sensor, and also it's the first variable zoom camera on the market, which means we are getting at the same time 70mm camera and 105mm camera in one body. Back to zoom camera, yes, you can get like 10x zoom on Huawei or somewhere else, But still, I noticed myself that even 3x on my One Mark II is more than enough. And especially when we're talking about 5x on Xperia One Mark III, we are getting aperture of 2.8, when like on Huawei we're getting 3.4 aperture, which means Sony can actually in those focals be better. But the coolest part about the zoom camera that it's getting all the features from other cameras like real-time tracking and eye autofocus and like 10 FPS photos, and also you get all the custom settings in Photo Pro app like shooting RAW on it and other cool features. That means it's a proper camera, there's no like disadvantages really. There's also now a new feature, AI zoom. It does actually work. I did try it out like over 100mm distance, and it looks okay. It looks better than it probably should have without it. Another huge upgrade for all the cameras is real-time tracking autofocus feature from alpha cameras, like I'm using right now A7R4. It basically what it allows you to do, you just tap on the screen, the box appears, and it's perfectly tracking anything what you tapped on. It's cool, that means you get that object in the focus, and it's really nice to have it, especially on all three cameras. Well done, Sony. Another really cool thing, we are getting a new standard camera app, which looks nicer, works faster. We're getting a Photo Pro app inside of this camera app. That means we just tap on the top left corner and we're getting Photo Pro opened. But anyway, even though they did make a new camera app, they still didn't manage to put in 4K 60 FPS in the standard camera app. I mean, really, seriously, still 4K 30 FPS? I mean, like, why the fuck can't you put 4K 60 FPS into there? I mean, is it really hard, or is the processor not powerful enough? Can you please explain to us, or maybe no one asking for this? I don't know. Basically, all the video features in the smartphone are the same as they were on Xperia One Mark II, 4K 120 in Cinema Pro in HDR 10-bit, 120 FPS in 2K resolution in Cinema Pro, but what we got is really cool. We got upgraded front camera. That shit is not shit anymore. Guess what? It actually better. I did compare this, I don't know, maybe it just felt like it's better and it actually wasn't, but it did look better at that moment and everyone told me, oh yeah, it looks better. So, I mean, it's better. It does have a narrower field of view. We are also getting new stabilization feature, Flawless Eye, what means it's using the fast readout of the sensor to stabilize even better. I did try that out. Stabilization looks very organic and smooth and nice, and it doesn't have this digital smearing on the sides when you move and pan. So it's really cool. I don't know if it's better than other smartphones. Talking about the sound feature, we got improved speakers, 40% louder and more powerful. They did sound loud and more powerful, but I think it wasn't 40%. And the back is not vibrating anymore, it's completely eliminated. Speakers now got 360 reality audio feature, which means you're getting super immersive sound around you, which I believe will work. And we're still getting a headphone jack and all that stuff, and good wireless sound. So sound system in here is pretty amazing. The battery also got bigger, now it's 4500 mAh instead of 4000. We're also getting reverse wireless charging, which means you can charge our smartphones using your phone, and also it's now 30 watts charging using a wire instead of 21, and also we're getting a charger in the box, guys, get what? 30 watts charger in the box, which is awesome. And the last thing I wanted to notice is a custom button on the side of the smartphone. It's not Google Assistant button anymore, which is good. Now it's fully customizable button, which means you can attach any app to there. So guys, make sure you subscribe, because this is my English channel. I don't know if anyone is going to subscribe or watch it. It depends on your activity if this video will work out fine and good. As long as you very active, pressing a lot of likes, like writing a lot of comments, I'm going to be trying to make 2 versions of my reviews, one in Russian, one in English. So go ahead and wait for my full review Xperia One Mark III, and it will be amazing. Thanks guys, I hope to see you again. See you later.